What does freedom mean to you? Does it mean the freedom to choose? The freedom to have a family and raise your kids according to your own values? What about living a wild, adventurous life, experimenting with music, relationships, or art? What does freedom really mean? What if freedom meant something that only a few Americans still understood? What if it meant that your choices and your values were set by you, rather than by some politician in a far-off capital? Some people think we're only free to choose to live exactly how they live, by their moral code, or their narrow worldviews. But if liberty means anything, it means that you, and you alone, have the power to exercise your rights to which the laws of nature and nature's God granted you. It's time to put these principles back into action. It's time to restore the American dream, activate in our communities, and take our country back. It's time to wake up, America. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We've got a big show for you today and some fantastic guests. Let's start right out the gate. Elon Musk dissolves Twitter's Trust and Safety Council following child exploitation concerns. The former executive who was head of it, Yoel Roth, was reportedly forced to flee his home in the wake of threats spurred by the, quote, Twitter files and the increased criticism from Elon Musk. Plus, Barry Weiss, journalist who is behind many of these drops that Elon Musk is leaking to, is exposing many more files this morning, exposing the depths of Twitter's crusade against Donald Trump. We'll talk about all that and more. And my friend Sour Patch Lids, Lydia Laterman, will be joining us on the program this morning. You know her of Timcast fame. She's now got her own podcast and live stream. She's going to be joining us this morning at 7:30 a.m. You don't want to miss it. Make sure that if you have to come back, that you set an appointment to come back and see Sour Patch Lids. Sam Bankman-Fried arrested in the Bahamas, the former multi-billionaire who ran a crypto scam, allegedly, was arrested in the Bahamas yesterday. He was a prolific donator to democratic causes, and it was speculated that he might potentially have to testify in front of Congress. Well, now he has been arrested in the Bahamas. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Sam Bankman-Fried didn't kill himself. Then at 7:51 this morning, a little bit of levity. How about that? Some fun. Fast food French fries taste worse than they used to. Yes, that's actually true, and I'll explain to you why at the end of the first hour. Start of the second hour, Camelia Peterson will join us at 8 a.m. to talk about Elon Musk being booed at a concert when Dave Chappelle brought him up on stage. We'll discuss that as well as the controversy surrounding this Yoel Roth character. It's a big news story. We're going to be talking about that with John Miltimore from the Foundation for Economic Education as well. You don't want to miss it. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel this morning so we can get as many people as we can in the program. If you want to text the show, you can do so for free. You'll always be able to text in for free at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Alternatively, you can also send us a super chat on the live stream. That's a great way to make a little small donation. It's kind of like a tip jar, and you'll get your comment read on the air that way as well. So if you're watching us on YouTube this morning, like I see 24 of you are, to get us started, Elizabeth Press, Brian Lofel, Chris Morrill, my lovely wife Stephanie, and many others who were there, A.N. Henry as well. Please feel free to make sure that you like the stream so that we can get it in as many people's feeds as possible. All right, let's hit the news. Big news. Barry Weiss drops more hashtag Twitter files, part 5, exposing the depths of Twitter's crusade against Donald Trump. Now, over the weekend, we reported yesterday that Michael Shellenberger dropped the Twitter files, part 4, and this was focused on Donald Trump's removal from Twitter. But today, or I guess as of last night, Barry Weiss was dropping part 5, and like part 4, it concerns Twitter banning Donald Trump's account. All right, let's get into it. Barry Weiss tweeted that on the morning of January 8th, President Donald Trump, with one remaining strike on his account before being at risk of permanent suspension from Twitter, tweeted twice, just as January 8th. At 6:46 a.m., Donald Trump tweeted that 75 million great American patriots who voted for me, America first, and make America great again, will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. Now, at 7:44 a.m., to all those who have asked, Donald Trump says, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. Now, for years, Twitter had been resisting calls, both internal and external, to ban Trump on the grounds that blocking a world leader from the platform or removing their controversial tweets would hide important information that people should be able to see and debate. As a matter of fact, on Twitter's blog, it had stated in 2019 that their mission was to provide a forum that enables people to be informed and to engage their leaders directly. Their aim was to, quote, protect the public's right to hear from their leaders and hold them to account. But after January 6th, as Matt Taibbi and Michael Shellenberger have documented, the pressure had begun to grow both inside and outside of Twitter to ban Donald Trump. Now, there were some dissenters inside Twitter, and I think this is actually quite fascinating. When you take a look at what the psychology was, or the mindset of the people who were dissenting, take a listen to this. One employee on January 7th on the program said that the reason why they dissented from banning Donald Trump was because I am from China, said one employee on January 7th. I deeply understand how censorship can destroy the public conversation. Now, it looks like we've got a little bit of a lag in the stream this morning. Someone is saying that, yes, there we go. Reconnection successful. All right, and we're back. So I found this fascinating. There were dissenters inside of Twitter, and this is what that person said. Maybe because I am from China, said one employee on January 7th, I deeply understand how censorship can destroy the public conversation, right? I deeply understand how censorship can destroy the public conversation because they were from China. I think that's pretty fascinating. That tweet goes on quite long. We'll be able to read the entire thread there. If you want to read more on this and get more details, I suggest that you follow Barry Weiss on Twitter. So make sure that you do that. And again, if you're watching us this morning, like Blackwater 0726 and Elizabeth Fanning Press and Terry Miller, make sure that you like the show, the YouTube video, so that we can get into more people's feeds this morning. The more people like the YouTube video, the more it gets suggested into Twitter, and we get to on YouTube, and we get to make more friends. Now, Barry Weiss continues on in his Twitter thread last night, documenting the suppression of Donald Trump, the banning of Donald Trump from Twitter, saying that voices like that, one woman who was from China, appear to be a very distinct minority within the company. Many Twitter employees were upset that Trump hadn't been banned earlier. I mean, I know you're not shocked by that news. But after January 6th, Twitter employees organized to demand that their employer ban Trump. One Twitter employee was talking about all of the advocacy going on from the employees. Things like, it feels like Twitter policy is engaged with someone acting in bad faith and we won't acknowledge it. Do we have any belief Trump will stop tweeting incitements to violence? Barry Weiss says that is documenting these, saying, we have to do the right thing and ban this account, said one staffer. And, quote, it's pretty obvious he's going to try to thread the needle of incitement without violating the rules. I liked Jim Treacher, who tweeted this yesterday, saying they had to ban him or he would have kept not breaking their rules, right? They just wanted him off Twitter. It didn't matter whether or not he actually violated any rules because they had already made up their mind a long time ago. Now, in the early afternoon of January 8th, Barry Weiss is talking about the Washington Post published an open letter signed by over 300 employees to Jack Dorsey demanding that Trump be banned. They said, quote, we must examine Twitter's complicity in what President-elect Biden has rightly termed insurrection. But the Twitter staff, Barry Weiss goes on, assigned to evaluate tweets quickly concluded that Trump had not violated Twitter's policies. Quote, I think we'd have a hard time saying this is incitement, wrote one staffer. You can text the show this morning at 573-319 1586. That's 573-319-1586. Many employees are quoted as saying they don't see the incitement angle here. Another Anika Navaroli, who is a Twitter policy official, stated, "I also am not seeing clear or coded incitement in this Donald Trump tweet. I'll respond in the elections channel and say our team has assessed and have found no violations for the Donald J. Trump one." As an FYI, she says safety has assessed the Donald Trump tweet and determined there is no violation of our policies at the time. They continued on, and Barry Weiss's Twitter thread continues on, and where they showed that there was a consensus that despite the fact that Donald Trump had clearly not violated the terms of service, they banned him anyway. How many people do you think that this has been done to? If they can do it to the sitting president of the United States, how many people do you think that they've done it to just because they don't like their politics and they want to suppress them from being able to advance? See, my concern about this is that, like I kind of explained yesterday, my entire rise to prominence, is, meager as it may be in politics, has been predicated on my ability to speak, my free speech. And my free speech, I've been able to build an audience all completely online, right? Not in person necessarily, although now that I've run for president of the United States and run for the Senate, a lot of my support has come from gaining support from people that I have met in person. But you probably know me entirely from my digital presence online. Now, consider this. I've been able to get to a position of, meager prominence, but consider our future leadership in this country on the right. Consider the future libertarian movement. Ask yourself this. If you believe that the liberty movement has been on the decline in the past several years, as I do, how much of the censorship policies on social media have contributed to that? Think about Squiggly Line Guy, Reed Coverdale. How many people, that are prominent libertarians have lost their Twitter accounts? Now, some of them are being restored, and that's a good thing. But consider this. The stunting of our movement in large part might be attributed to the censorship of people online. Because again, without the ability for us to get our ideas out to the public, as I have done in my career, then there's no way for many of these young communications professionals to be able to advance themselves, because there are no other alternative platforms with the kind of footprint that agencies like Twitter and Facebook and others have. I mean, this is a serious problem that we as libertarians and liberty lovers and right wing conservatives who listen to this program are faced with. I mean, the conservative movement is a lot larger, so it's a lot harder to hit. Playing whack-a-mole when Twitter's trust and safety or Facebook's censors are cracking down on libertarians. There's a lot few of us to go around. It's a lot easier when you're playing whack-a-mole with fewer moles to knock out all the moles. With the conservatives, there are quite a few more of them, which means that it's harder to take down all of the young conservatives who are trying to work their way up into politics and to build media careers. But this, I would say, if you're a young libertarian, based on the old rules, if I had not knowing that Elon Musk was going to take over Twitter and that Meta was going to start failing, if things had continued all along as they had been over the last 2-3 years, and a young libertarian wanted to get into a career in the media, I might have discouraged them from doing so, simply because there really would not have been the kind of grassroots, bottom-up type of way to build a following, a social following. Here's the thing. There are a lot of libertarians now who are prominent media figures, but they weren't libertarians 5 or 6 or 7 years ago or 10 years ago. A lot of the people who are prominent libertarians now are former leftists, and they were allowed to build a massive following because they were leftists then. Now, if you started as a libertarian or you started as a conservative and you tried to build a following 4 or 5 years ago, it was way harder. The only way to be able to be a prominent libertarian in the media these days is to have already built your following as a member of the left, and then to change your mind and come over. How many people, Joe Rogan, would you say, Tim Pool, perfect example, right? You can't just start as someone who believes in freedom and then build from there, because they're going to squash you. They're going to kill you in the crib, right? Sudden infant death syndrome, courtesy of people like not Elon Musk, but Mark Zuckerberg. It's still fairly early this morning. All right, we're going to go to a commercial break. When we get back, this Yoel Roth character, boy, he is a shady guy. His, quote, gay data dissertation has been mistakenly blocked from the University of Pennsylvania's website after Elon Musk's tweet about it. Deeply concerning information, very shady, very mysterious. Sounds like a conspiracy. We're going to talk about that when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. It's 7:22. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show with Austin Peterson at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Don't forget to like the stream if you're watching us this morning over on YouTube. If you're not watching us on YouTube, I'd like to ask you to join us over here. The Cantina crew likes to sit around the fire, talk about days targeting womp rats with their T-34. They're not much bigger than 2 meters. Check us out over at youtube.com/AP4Liberty. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can know when we go live, which is, of course, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. If you're new here to the show, welcome. Introduce yourself. We love to make friends. We'd like to get to know you a little bit better. Some big news. Not sure how much of this to believe because it's coming from Business Insider. Former Twitter executive Yoel Roth was reportedly forced to flee his home in the wake of threats that were spurred by the, quote, Twitter files, what we're discussing this morning, and increased criticism from Elon Musk. Stepped up threats of violence against former Twitter exec Yoel Roth apparently have forced him to flee his home, according to CNN, which means we should take it with a what? Giant grain of salt. Now, Yoel Roth, of course, has been subject to criticism amid new revelations in the Twitter files, along with some very personal attacks from Elon Musk. Now, Musk's attacks just came just weeks after the billionaire had defended Roth, tweeting that he had high integrity. But what Elon Musk is seeing in the Twitter files appears to have changed his minds about this man, Yoel Roth, quite deeply. Twitter had announced late on Monday that it disbanded the company's Trust and Safety Council. This was a board of experts that advised the platform on the, quote, safety of certain content, very Orwellian 1984 type language there, following concerns over child exploitation. Yes, the Trust and Safety team was dissolved because Elon Musk had been concerned about how they handled child exploitation. You know where this is going, and it's not going anywhere good. Now, as Twitter moves into a new phase, they say we are reevaluating how best to bring external insights into our product and policy development work. That's how they said this. As part of the process, they decided that the Trust and Safety Council is not the best structure to do this. The Trust and Safety Council had consisted of there's going to be a lot of air quotes in this show, so if you're listening to us later, I'm air quoting here. A group of independent expert organizations from around the world. Whenever anybody says something is independent, you know that it's absolute horse. You know what I mean? It's absolute bull, because there are no independent news or organizations around the world. They all have an agenda. Take a look at who they're funded by, okay? Go back and find out what nonprofit or what billionaire, left-wing billionaire decided to leave some foundational estate for integrity in newspapers or what have you. This is what you should do whenever you hear somebody say an independent fact-checking organization. Exactly. Have a big fat laugh, all right? Now, this information that we're getting right here about Twitter's Trust and Safety Council and, calling them a group of independent expert organizations around the world, which advised on issues critical to the health of the public conversation. I mean, is that not the most Orwellian? Yeah, issues critical to the health of the public conversation. And this is according to a now deleted page in Twitter's blogs. This announcement came less than an hour before members of the council were supposed to meet with top Twitter executives for an online meeting to talk about new developments of the company. Now, the former head of the Global Trust and Safety, Yoel Roth, has been coming under fire in recent days for resurfaced comments that he made about sex and underage human beings. Including one post where he considers whether children can meaningfully consent to adult relations with their teachers. Now, here is where things start to get really wild this morning. Roth also wrote a dissertation for his PhD education at the University of Pennsylvania, in which he appeared to argue that children should be able to access adult internet services. And that's according to a tweet from Musk. Musk made these comments in response to a tweet from a human trafficking survivor and awareness advocate, Eliza Blue, pointing out that this 2010 tweet from Roth about whether students can meaningfully consent to relations with teachers was brought up. And now we're starting to see these things. This is insane, and it's happening right now. As you and I are talking about this, as the crow flies. Listen to this. Yoel Roth's dissertation, this dissertation that Elon Musk is pointing out, blocked from the University of Pennsylvania website. The University of Pennsylvania temporarily blocked, they say temporarily, blocked a doctoral dissertation from Twitter's former head of safety. This is absolutely wild stuff. Now, Musk has been purging Twitter employees, we know, and exposing the company's history of anti-conservative bias. And, as late as October, he was saying that this Roth character has high integrity. But what Elon Musk saw about this dissertation has really changed his mind. Musk had tweeted on Saturday about this dissertation titled, quote, "Gay Data," which suggested ways to improve the dating app Grindr. Musk had highlighted Roth's argument on page 248, in which Roth suggested sites like Grindr should consider crafting safety strategies that can accommodate a wide variety of use cases, including for young adults. Now, young adults is an interesting term because young adults, as Yahoo News is writing this, which of course is a biased news organization, makes me wonder if they're not actually young adults at all. I'm going to get Sour Patch Lids on the show. Let's go get Lydia Laterman. Hear from her. You know her of Timcast fame. She's going to join us here in just a few minutes. We're going to go to a commercial break. And when we get back, we'll get Sour Patch Lids' take on this one. It's going to be a big show today. It's a big story. Stick around. Don't leave during the commercial break. I'll answer your questions in the chat when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Austin's wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Peterson's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Peterson's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupamericashow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Hey, it's Austin. Thanks for watching and listening to the Wake Up America show. 2022 has been an exciting year for the Peterson household. Steffi and I celebrated our first anniversary, and my new radio program, The Austin Peterson Show, was syndicated in St. Louis just over a month ago. There have been some challenging times, but with the help and support of good friends like you, we've been able to come out even stronger at the end of this year than when we started. I wanted to take a moment to say thank you to the Cantina crew, especially Camelia Peterson, Tolly Owens, Jamie Marie Pope, Chris Morrill, Matt Unruh, Quest Fanning, Elizabeth Fanning Press, Tina Martin Goodrick, John Rail, Jasper Logan, Kathy Jo Loy, Edie Vogel, Grant Sundberg, Anna DePalm, Doug Hill, Andy Opperman, Lyle and Lori Rosberg, John Peterson, John Mashurik, Ava Lavasco, Leslie Scott Russell, Liberty Liss, Pam Ames, Cecilia Harden, Mary Kramer, and dozens more than I could list here. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and may your days be merry and bright with a Happy New Year.
Hello, I'm George. Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mom, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great. Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me Pops build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. It's 7:33. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Elon Musk dissolves the Twitter Trust and Safety Council. We're following the news about the former head of that council, Yoel Roth, who is reportedly fleeing San Francisco after alleged threats to his life. The University of Pennsylvania, which he wrote a PhD dissertation to when he was a student there, has removed access to that dissertation after Elon Musk accused Yoel Roth of writing some disturbing things regarding relationships with adults and children. Joining us now to discuss, well, you know her as Sour Patch Lids. She's Lydia Leiterman, joining us now on the line. Good morning.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design.
Going on. I saw an article. I saw an article from CNN yesterday talking about how poor Yoel Roth had to leave his home because of a campaign that Elon Musk was waging against him. And I thought, wait a minute, Elon Musk isn't waging a campaign against Yoel Roth. Yoel Roth, from my understanding of the leftist interpretation of the First Amendment, is seeing the results of his free speech. And if he decided to leave home, that's fully his decision. Good for him, honestly. I don't want anything bad to happen to him necessarily, but he did say incredibly disturbing things, and he was in charge of censorship, so people are understandably upset with him.
You're just tuning into the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. You can send us a text this morning at 573-319-1586. We're speaking to Lydia Leiterman about Twitter's former head of trust and safety, the team which has been dissolved, Yoel Roth, apparently having to flee San Francisco for threats to his life. Now, I don't know if I necessarily believe that. It's so difficult to believe anything that I read in the media these days, Lydia. But if I were Yoel Roth and I really had been doing some of the things that Elon Musk has been accusing him of, then I probably would want to flee the big cities as well. He probably has a good reason to be worried.
Yeah, I completely understand if he is leaving and moving around a little bit. But at the same time, we need to think about what he did to put himself in this situation. He chose to ignore a lot of horrible child-focused materials on Twitter. And he wrote incredibly strange. His PhD thesis was bizarre. He's talking about underage kids using Grindr, incredibly upsetting stuff. And none of it was explicit. I feel like he was very careful in that regard. Of course, not everything has come out. But I think this is really just the consequences of what he chose to do with his time at Twitter. He got a little drunk on power, and this is his hangover. Sorry.
Now, Lydia, we're with all of these Twitter files that have been dropping as leak. We've been finding out more information about the shifting rules and terms of service that have been, changed, at the drop of a hat in order to get rid of Donald Trump. When you worked at Timcast, I think we had a conversation several months ago, the first time that we met, about how Tim Pool had sort of tried to memorize all of the rules in order to comply with what YouTube's terms of service were. But my argument at the time was, I think, and we only had a couple of minutes for this conversation, it was off camera, is that there's no real way to comply with the terms of service, because if they don't like you, they can just change the rules. And isn't that what these Twitter files are showing?
That's exactly what this is showing. And this is actually something Ben Shapiro was talking about yesterday, because they used to do a lot of their business on Facebook. He said they would arbitrarily just change things. You would have no idea why, but your whole company would be off the rails because how you used to earn money was no longer really working. So you'd have to kind of figure out what went wrong and try to fix it. And that's why working with YouTube too was like very much like walking on eggshells. What Yoel Roth did was really not unique to him. This is across big tech platforms everywhere. Something to keep in mind.
Certainly, Lydia, and it makes it difficult for people like yourself and myself who are in the media, who are not leftists, who are trying to build a career for ourselves. And I've been talking on the show a little bit earlier about this theme of how if Elon Musk had not taken over Twitter, and if Meta had not been headed into a death spiral, and someone had asked me 2 or 3 years ago, Austin, how do I get a career or start in the media if I'm a conservative or a libertarian? I would have said there's no way. Now, maybe there's a little bit of a glimmer of hope now because of what's going on, but the simple fact is that people who are trying to build a career for themselves, starting out as a conservative, it's almost impossible to be able to build a following anymore if you are anywhere to the right of Joseph Stalin. Am I wrong?
No, you're entirely right. And when I was 11 years old, I actually decided that I probably shouldn't be a journalist because there was no room for me. Now, I was really lucky to be able to work with Tim Pool for sure. And I think that people need to be brave. If this is something that they want to do, they need to step up. And even if they don't have a huge audience, this is something they can do maybe after their day job as a hobby, because it is important that the truth be out there. And we do need people to speak up, even when it is really hard. Even when big tech is all dead set against you, you still need to try, do something positive.
And over the years, we've seen big tech cracking down on smaller publishers, smaller YouTubers, and people who are trying to get the message out, right? Citizen journalists. But I think if anything, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, right? We've sort of seen the curtain revealed that pulled back behind what's been going on with Twitter. I mean, if anything, Elon is kind of like Dorothy. We need to get him some ruby slippers or something, because he really has shown us the depths of the corruption. I mean, the thing is that we knew that this was going on, right? Intuitively, but we never really had the kind of hard evidence. But it's sort of like all of our the sum of all fears in total, isn't it?
It really is. And I think that I constantly say this, but it is terrible to be right about all the worst things. And this is really where I feel like I'm at right now, because we're right about censorship. We're right about this and that. We're right about the pedophilia behind the scenes. And it's deeply troubling. And what you were saying about Elon Musk needing some ruby slippers, I saw a meme the other day of him looking at his phone and he's like, extra security, add to cart. And I was like, yes, 100%, because what he's discovered here is the kind of thing that gets people Epsteined. So I really wish him the best. He needs to stay strong. He needs to push through this. And I'm glad he's a father, because this is something that's so important and needs to be dismantled. So more power to him for sure.
He's going to need more than a cowardly lion to protect himself.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson, I'm speaking to Lydia Leiterman, aka Sour Patch Lids. We're talking about revelations from the Twitter files. But speaking of didn't kill himself, Elon Musk didn't kill himself. Sam Bankman-Fried yesterday, it was announced, was arrested in the Bahamas. This was a day before he was, or I guess the day he was supposed to be testifying in front of Congress. Very convenient timing, isn't it, Lydia?
It was very interesting. So I couldn't quite figure out what exactly had happened, because Maxine Waters said she's very disappointed that this happened. And he had said that day that he didn't think he was going to be arrested. So I'm not entirely sure. He clearly wasn't in the loop. I'm not sure if the US, if the feds are excuse me, I can't talk, in touch with the police over there, but the timing is very interesting. I'm so curious what happens with this case because he clearly deserves to be in jail. He did apologize in his defense, so maybe that should give him some, leeway, but I definitely think he deserves to be in jail. I think our justice system needs to thoroughly look at him because he is.
One of the more interesting aspects of this story is the connection between Sam Bankman-Fried, Ukraine, and Democratic politicians. Now, if you post a meme or a tweet or anything like that especially on Facebook, about the alleged connections between Hunter Biden, Ukraine, Sam Bankman-Fried, and Joseph Biden, then you will get fact-checked, taken down. Your meme will get suppressed, and your reach will be shut down on those platforms. But there is a very interesting, and possibly disturbing link between this Sam Bankman-Fried character and foreign aid that's coming from the United States going over to Ukraine, and Ukraine taking some of that money and investing it into a company owned by Sam Bankman-Fried, and then Sam Bankman-Fried makes donations to Democrats. Have you been following this trail?
I have, and it's incredibly fascinating. Now, to start out, we already know that Joe Biden sat up there on a stage and said, if they don't fire this guy, I told them I would withhold aid. Well, son of a gun, they fired him. And that is the clearest, to me, that's one of the clearest cases of quid pro quo I've seen. He also did that thing with Saudi Arabia, which was another case of it, but no one is talking about impeaching him. But I digress. And yeah, it really is a beautiful loop between Sam and Ukraine and the laundering of money into the Democratic campaign and his very close friendship with very corrupt people like Maxine Waters. It's not surprising in the least. We're just not allowed to talk about it.
If you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show, I'm Austin Peterson. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. You can do so for free, but if you'd like to support the channel and get your comment read on air, you can give us a super chat over on YouTube. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification icon. Now, Lydia, are there any other major stories that you're following this morning? I know you've got your own little podcast. I wonder what's on your mind today.
So these are the biggest ones, and I actually went through the most recent Twitter files drop. That was the biggest deal for me. I've been very upset by the Brittany Griner thing, just because to me it seems like such a clear case of a kind of a discrimination. Listening to Victor Boot talk about how the U.S. is on the decline, and listening to some of their pundits discussing how we were willing to trade one of the biggest gun runners. And on that note, I never want to hear anything about gun control ever again from Democrats. Seriously, because this man was dealing in like serious weapons of war. He was dealing in missiles and planes. I guess he likes the US. He was hanging out with a bunch of rednecks in prison. And he's like, this country is clearly on the decline. It's kind of terrible and sad to see. And their pundits are like, they're really willing to trade this incredibly powerful figure for a lady just to check intersectional boxes. And that's crazy to me. They're clearly on the outs. And I'm like, I can't contest that. And admittedly, this isn't something that we voted for per se, but we did elect Joe Biden. And this is his action. So that story is
we elected Joe Biden.
Right. We put Joe Biden in office. Totally my doing.
More votes than any president in history. Lydia, there's probably a lot of overlap between our audience, ideological overlap. I imagine people would probably be really excited to hear that you have your own show as well and your own YouTube channel. Would you like to share with people where they can find out more about you and your career?
Absolutely. This is the simplest thing in the world. I'm at youtube.com/Sour Patch Lids. And if you want to see all my socials, I'm at sourpatchlids.me.
Sour Patch Lids, Lydia Leiterman. We're super grateful for your time today. Thank you so much for joining us on the morning show and for being so generous with your time.
Thank you, Austin. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. All right. What did you think of Sour Patch Lids? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. A great show. We got lots more to go. Camelia Peterson is going to be joining us at 8 a.m. and she's going to respond to Elon Musk, her boyfriend, getting booed at a Dave Chappelle show. Why is he on stage at a Dave Chappelle show? I don't get it. Doesn't make any sense. We'll talk about all that and more when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Were you exposed to hazardous materials while serving in the military? and have an illness or condition as a result.
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits and services.
Whether you need health care or want to file a disability compensation claim related to military exposures, VA is here to help.
Visit va.gov/military-exposures to learn more and apply today.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
If I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors, what would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? You can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas and a liberty New Year. Socialists and commies may try to convince you that the holiday's all about free stuff. But let's be honest, we all know whose wallet Santa's gifts are coming out of. There ain't no such thing as a free stocking. Santa is the only guy with a big white beard promising free stuff that we want anything to do with this holiday. And if you don't believe, you don't receive. It's a capitalist, consumerist holiday, and it's time for a Santa-sized stimulus. Get your free market merch at the AP for Liberty shop today and stuff your socialist sisters' stockings full of capitalist cheer. Ho, 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 ho! Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Did you like seeing Sour Patch Lids on the program? I gotta say, it's not easy getting all of these awesome guests on the program. I work very hard when the show is over to make sure that the next show the next day is top notch. And I gotta say, Lydia Leiterman is a top notch guest. So if I'm working so hard to give you the best content you can get every morning, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m., can you do me just one little favor? Like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification on YouTube. It's very easy. You're like, oh man, Austin's working so hard. He's trying to make me a great show every single day. What can I do for AP? Well, it's easy. It's free. It's very simple. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can get a notification whenever we go live. I would be certainly grateful, and we appreciate you very much. All right, so before we get back into the really heavy, serious topics, it is Christmas time after all. Let's have a little bit of fun. I saw this story yesterday. I thought, boy, this is a good conversation starter. Elders speak of a time long ago when McDonald's fries actually tasted good. Do you remember this? The reason, so they say, was that the chain actually used to cook the stuff in beef tallow. Remember this when we were kids and McDonald's fries were friggin' amazing because they were cooked in animal fat? It was a special mixture they called Formula 7. Execute order 47. Execute French fry 47. And this imbued the fries with this buttery, beefy flavor that we used to enjoy. But that ended in 1990. And it was followed by a campaign waged by one huge hole. His name was Phil Sokoloff. He grew rich running his own manufacturing company. And then he had a heart attack at 43, and he devoted the rest of his life to heart health, aka making the rest of our lives miserable. And he sold the company that bore his name, and he sank $1 million into what he called the National Heart Savers Association. He went on to spend $15 million campaigning against fat and cholesterol. I mean, that's a lot of money. And he was apparently worth less than $5 million when he died. He bought a PSA at the Super Bowl in 2000 for $2.5 million, urging people to take drugs to lower their cholesterol. Well, there you go. Anyway, so Sokoloff targeted milk and burgers, and he fought especially hard against French fries. He said beef tallow was terrible for your heart. He claimed that McDonald's that he claimed, and McDonald's switched to vegetable oil for their fries in 1990. The seed oils. And while they denied this was in response to Sokoloff, he took out ads afterwards congratulating himself, and newspapers do credit him with how fast the fast food chains overall switched to vegetable oil for French fries. But there's some irony to this story, though. And of course, I'm not talking about how Sokoloff himself actually ended up dying of heart disease. That's kind of the opposite of irony, and he was 82 years old. The irony is that the oil that they switched to for the next 18 years, the seed oil, no, the seed oil, which is, not good for you in large amounts. I freely admit the seed oil that McDonald's switched to is actually worse for your heart than beef tallow because it contains trans fats. Of course, we didn't know the awfulness of trans fats at the time. So the fast food chains today still use vegetable oil, or actually the oil that fast food chains have switched to today, which has fewer trans fats, is probably still not better for you than beef tallow, or at least it's not better enough to outweigh the loss in taste. So no one is ordering French fries because they want to be healthy, right? Obviously. You might say that skipping animal fat makes the fries vegan, but you would be wrong. McDonald's fries do contain some non-vegan, quote, beef flavor because they do know that taste still matters a little bit. Overall, then, while Sokoloff thought that he'd won big, it was pretty much a lose-lose situation for everybody else. And therein lies the heart of the problem that the United States faces today. We are plagued by do-gooders. We are plagued by people who want to, it's like what happened after the Parkland massacre. All of the parents and the every town demand action for gun control. Moms demand action for gun control. These do-gooders who will torture us to no end. What is the C.S. Lewis quote? I'll pull it up. Of all tyrannies, A tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. It would be better to live under robber barons than under omnipotent moral busybodies. The robber baron's cruelty may sometimes sleep. His cupidity, which means sexy drive, may at some point be satiated, but those who torment us for our own good will torment us without end, for they may do so with the approval for they do so with the approval of their own conscience. They may be more likely to go to heaven, yet at the same time likelier to make a hell of earth. This very kindness stings with intolerable insult. To be, quote, cured against one's will, and cured of states which we may not regard as a disease, is to be put on a level of those who have not yet reached the age of reason, or who never will, to be classed with infants, imbeciles, and domestic animals. That is C.S. Lewis. God in the Dock, Essays on Theology. Bring us back our beef tallow, bitch. Joining us at 8:09, she's not a bitch. She's a lovely lady. Camelia Peterson will be joining us to talk about Elon Musk getting booed on the stage at a Dave Chappelle show. We'll be back with more on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy Bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake, yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes, you like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bush. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bush blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
the real-world experience.
It's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway.
I need help.
You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Good morning. It's 8:02. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson at wakeupAmericaShow.com. All right, let's continue our line of great guests. Joining us now live on camera is our good friend Camelia Peterson, who's joining us now. Good morning, CJ. It's nice to see you.
Thank you. Good morning from Southeast Missouri.
Oh, Southeast Missouri this morning. Okay, not in St. Louis or Southwest Missouri. Glad to have you. I guess, what, are you hanging out with Chris Morrill this morning?
Oh, Chris Morrill is so going to let me have it. Every time I'm down here, my schedule is so tight that we don't ever get that beer. And so I need to do that. But I'm sorry. No, I will be racing the clock all day today and tomorrow with people down here.
What your priorities are. Merry Christmas, Chris
My
Morrill.
priorities are with freedom and liberty and making strides in making that happen.
Yeah, for sure, and making money. If you're just turning into the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson, you can text the show for free at 573-319-1586. We love to hear from our listeners. Make sure you like and subscribe to get that YouTube algorithm juiced for us this morning. Yesterday, it was reported that Elon Musk appeared on stage with Dave Chappelle. Your boyfriend, Camelia, got booed on stage with Dave Chappelle. What happened?
Cannot imagine. I don't know, of course, I think it was in San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
And so apparently this was unexpected, but he brought on the world's richest man. I guess he recently regained that title. And there was a very mixed reaction. So I know, all the leftists on Twitter were like, oh, he got booed and this should show him and blah, 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 blah. But if you go and watch the video, it's really very mixed. There was lots of cheering as well. And so, you could hear the boos too. But, every time Dave Chappelle said something about it, there was also lots of laughter. So I don't think people were that mad.
Okay, well, so the media is making out to be some big deal, as if Elon was chased off the stage or all that. But he had some pretty good jokes, actually. He's he pulled a. I know you're not keen on pop culture, but I'm pretty sure, and so I know you haven't watched the Chappelle show. But from what I hear, Elon actually, after he got booed, was he pulled out a Chappelleism and was like, "I'm rich, bitch." Which...
Well, and Chappelle is this man's not even trying to die on Earth. He's like, F this place, I'm going to Mars.
Now, on a more serious note, Camelia, are you following the drama surrounding this Yoel Roth character having to flee San Francisco and apparently his PhD dissertation getting taken down off of the University of Pennsylvania website?
I heard you talking about that this morning. I had not heard those last couple of developments. I had seen it whenever Elon posted the screenshot with the highlighted portions from his dissertation. And so had read that a little bit. You and I talked a little bit about this on the side the last couple of days. And I think that, this is the biggest part for me of Elon taking over Twitter, is that he made addressing the child exploitation issues a priority. And that it blows my mind that they could not do that before. And I think that definitely speaks to character and their priorities and, just the evil that existed there. But at the same time, there's still that part of me that, on my own side, when things are coming out, I still like to see us staying intellectually honest about things. And so I don't know a lot about this Yoel character, except for, Elon was kind of favorable about him in the beginning. And so kind of that seems to have changed. But the first tweets coming out where he said something about can students ever meaningfully consent to their teachers? I read that and I totally did not take that the way everybody else did.
What do you mean? Okay, groomer. Okay, what do you mean? Explain.
I mean, that when I went and read the article, it was talking about the challenges of kids who are not minors in high schools, having those interactions with teachers, and like, how do you navigate those waters with, kids who graduate late and all those kind of things. And I really took his comment, which his comment was really mostly just the headline of the article. And I really took that to mean, students can't meaningfully consent to their teachers ever, because teachers are in a position of authority over them regardless of age. So I took that differently than everybody else, and I know it's an unpopular opinion, but
we had this conversation behind the scenes, and we were talking about this a little bit. And the problem is that you're giving the benefit of the doubt
I
to
know.
people
Yeah.
who are more than happy to see you, to steamroll people like yourself with your views and opinions, people who would never give you the benefit of the doubt. And we're not talking about extending someone rights. We're not talking about
Sure.
extending somebody free speech here. We're talking about extending someone a benefit of the doubt who has not earned that privilege, in my view. I mean, the benefit of the doubt to me is reserved to people who have earned trust in some way. In my view, these Silicon Valley titans, these people, the head of Twitter's trust and safety, they don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. So why are you granting it to them?
I don't know. I think, part of it is that, like I said, that intellectual honesty part, but at the same time, the other part of me is like, they allowed child exploitation on their platform for a
Yeah.
long time, unaddressed, burn it all down, salt the earth. Like,
Yes.
yes.
There we
There-
go.
I told
All
you.
right. Yeah.
I told you there are two that live inside me, the warrior and the hippie, and they
But like I said to you the other day, and then retweeted my old tweet, it is better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in war, Camellia. And these people, whether or not you agree with, or whether or not you're at war, they're at war with us. I mean, and this Twittergate, what this has revealed is that these people, and especially the tactics that they used against Donald Trump. I mean, how often do you think that they change the rules to be able to ban, like, our friend Squiggly, right? Remember the saga with Squiggly Line Guy, what happened with him in Facebook because he was going after pedos?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, they were, he was exposing them. Like, there was incontrovertible evidence, and they banned him for it.
Yes, and here's the thing. Why? Why the cover up, right? Why the attempt to cover up? It's not as if, Squiggly wasn't the type of guy to go on a witch hunt here. We're not talking about somebody who is out there grandstanding and demagoguing themselves in order to build up their following. We're talking about sincere, concerned activists in your and my circle online, people that you and I know and trust, and that we are working hand in hand with to build the liberty movement here in the United States. Those people are being targeted because they're trying to do the right thing. So to me, like, this whole concept of giving these people the benefit of the doubt, I don't think it holds any water, Camellia. I mean, we are talking about what I believe to be a criminal conspiracy to protect many of our elites from the repercussions of their behaviors, and their behavior appears to be the grooming and the exploitation of children. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. And I think that is the most significant thing that has come out of all of this. I also kind of told you that, I have a few concerns that, like, Elon is making people on the right a little too happy. Like, I like it, and I love the way he's tweeting it. Boy, it's just a joy
really?
to see.
Oh, you just don't.
But
You
at the
just feel
same
like the other
time,
shoe's gonna drop.
that's right. I'm like, I think people on the right are just getting a little too comfortable with Elon. He's like, I just, I'm kind of more happy with him when he's not making anybody happy, because I think that's important. And I really, what I think has come out of this that encourages me is that this has shown people on the right. I like to think this has shown people on the right the value of the free market and what happens when you let, the free market take over, and Elon does. And I know this is it's probably a stretch, and, it doesn't always happen very often with something this big, but it can happen. And so, but
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson, I'm speaking to Camellia Peterson, who is causing me no end of frustration this morning. You can send a text to the show at 573-319-1586. Doug H. this morning over the live stream says, you give people the benefit of the doubt because it's the right thing to do, not because you expect it to be reciprocated. But there is a time when you have to cut it off. There is a time when the benefit of the doubt I think applies to people who have earned the benefit of the doubt. The benefit of the doubt is reserved for people who deserve it. You don't give the benefit of the doubt to, gosh, I don't want to use Adolf Hitler, but I mean, you don't give the benefit of the doubt to people like Yoel Roth, who who are consistently found to be pushing a certain type of an envelope, right? It's like, do you remember when there was some candidate recently, and I think Chris Morrill knows who I'm talking about. Some candidate just randomly brought up the age of consent in a debate, right? In a Google.
Yeah. The Arizona guy.
Would you give that person the benefit of the doubt?
I probably not. I mean, as far as bad judgment,
Mhm. Right. Brandon Meyer over in the live stream says these aren't even conspiracies anymore, though. It's amazing you can objectively prove something and still have it labeled a conspiracy. Yeah, should the benefit of the doubt be applied to people grooming children? That's my question right there. And I'd love to hear from you on this one as well. On the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson, the text line is open and free. You can send one in at 573-319-1586. We're speaking with Camelia Peterson this morning. We're talking to her a little bit about the hubbub surrounding the drop of Twitter files in San Francisco. The former head of the Twitter Trust and Safety Board, Yoel Roth, has reportedly fled San Francisco for fearing for his life because of alleged threats that have been made against him after Elon Musk has been coming out. Now, here's the thing, and this is where I think really, the rubber hits the road here, Camelia. On Saturday, this last Saturday, Musk tweeted about this dissertation that has mysteriously disappeared from the website. It was titled Gay Data, which suggested ways to improve the LGBTQ dating site Grindr, which we know is a hookup app. Now, Musk highlighted Roth's argument on page 248 of this, in which Roth suggested that sites like Grindr should consider crafting strategies that can accommodate a wide variety of use cases, including for young adults. Musk tweeted, "Looks like Yoel is arguing in favor of children being able to access adult internet services in his PhD thesis." Would you give Elon Musk the benefit of the doubt on that claim?
I would. I mean, just because, evidence so far has shown him to be, fair, balanced in his assessment of things. I will say that this is kind of a difference in the left and right when you talk about this Yoel character's approach to that problem. And I think the context of what he was talking about in that thesis was that underage children are already on some of those sites, and if they're already going to use some of those sites, what are some ways that harm can be mitigated in that sense? And I think that for the left, they're looking, okay, how are ways that we can make this easier or better able? We're still giving them access to that, whereas on the right, we're looking at how do we prevent access at all, because they don't need to be exposed to that or in those sites to begin with. And I think there is a significant difference in approach.
You're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. We are speaking to Camelia Peterson. Camelia Peterson is the editor of the Libertarian Republic, and she is joining us right now. She's in Southeast Missouri this morning, and she also works for Americans for Prosperity, where she fights for freedom here in the state of Missouri, and we love to see her on the show. Camelia, is there anything else that you think that our listeners should know before we let you go?
No, I would just say that, when we talk about, we kind of talk about this culture war sometimes, and, we sometimes make fun of this culture war and the sort of futility in it. But the reality is there is something to it in terms of values and principles that we are having to fight for. And I would just say that we really need to consider what it means, how we fight for that. What are you actually doing? Are we just ranting and raving online? I mean, there is some value to that, but we also really need to consider what does it really mean to fight for those values? And honestly, today and tomorrow, that's a lot of what I'm doing down here, is coming down and talking to people who are activists at the grassroots level and saying, looky, what are effective ways that we can make a difference in policies to protect children and to give people more liberty? And also talking with legislators about, how do we bridge this gap between our elected officials and our people that are at the grassroots level to where we can actually gain forward momentum on these issues.
One last question before I let you go, Camelia. I sent you this story, the 20 smartest states in the United States ranked 1 through 20 here. Were you surprised or shocked at all that Missouri was not in the list of the 20 smartest states?
I tell you what I was most disappointed is that we were beat out by Kansas and Illinois. I mean, holy cow, that's rough.
Yeah,
Terrible.
That sucks. All right. Well, Camellia Peterson, thank you so much for being generous with your time today. Glad to have you on camera. Have a wonderful day and keep up the fight.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. What do you think of Camellia Peterson? Isn't she great? Well, that's why we love having her on twice a week. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. And we'll be back. Don't forget, John Miltibor is going to be joining us from the Foundation for Economic Education on this topic and more when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Austin's wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America Show with Austin Peterson. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Peterson's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Peterson's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Hey, it's Austin. Thanks for watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show. 2022 has been an exciting year for the Peterson household. Steffi and I celebrated our first anniversary, and my new radio program, The Austin Peterson Show, was syndicated in St. Louis just over a month ago. There have been some challenging times, but with the help and support of good friends like you, we've been able to come out even stronger at the end of this year than when we started. I wanted to take a moment to say thank you to the Cantina crew, especially Camellia Peterson, Tolly Owens, Jamie Marie Pope, Chris Morrill, Matt Unruh, Quest Fanning, Elizabeth Fanning Press, Tina Martin Goodrick, John Rail, Jasper Logan, Kathy Jo Loy, Edie Vogel, Grant Sundberg, Anna DePalm, Doug Hill, Andy Opperman, Lyle and Lori Rosberg, John Peterson, John Mashurik, Ava Lavasco, Leslie Scott Russell, Liberty Liss, Pam Ames, Cecilia Harden, Mary Kramer, and dozens more than I could list here. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and may your days be merry and bright with a Happy New Year.
Hello, I'm George. Thank you for watching the Wake Up America Show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mom, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great. Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper Shopper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3. You're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me pups build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell! This commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
What can you do when the internet doesn't like you? There isn't much that you can do. You do your best. You try and keep your live stream rocking and rolling the best you can, but sometimes it just decides to come down. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. If you're wondering what happened, the YouTube stream crashed. Yes, it did. But now we're back, I think. Are we back? Let us know. Send us a comment underneath the YouTube live stream right now. Looks like we got 14 people watching over there. Seems to be operational. Now witness the power of this fully operational live stream. We've got John Miltimore joining us in just a few minutes. We'll talk to him a little bit about what's going on in the world. Before we do, I've got some random facts to share with you. I thought this was some fascinating news stories to share with you from around the world. A blank paper protest got a stationery company in trouble. If you've been following what's been going on with the protests in China, the protests against COVID lockdowns and political freedoms spread across China, with demonstrators holding up pieces of blank white paper in a symbolic protest. The Chinese firm M&G Stationery's stock actually tumbled before they denied rumors that it would ban A4 white paper sheets nationwide. Now, how could FIFA, the World Soccer Cup team, hold the World Cup in North Korea? Could they hold more get more controversy that way? Apparently, FIFA announced that they were open to North Korea hosting the World Cup, despite controversy surrounding their 2022 hosting rights of in Qatar. FIFA's president has visited North Korea with hopes of them joining South Korea for a Women's World Cup bid. Interesting. In other news, a student received Weetabix instead of a MacBook. You know what Weetabix are? You know, those absolutely like disgusting breakfast cereal. It's kind of like what Frosted Shredded Wheats is like. Can I say retarded older cousin? I don't know if I can on the morning show. Excuse me. What is the max in the chat? Anyone know? I don't know. I'm pretty sure that Tim Pool will have like 30,000 people on at any one time. Anyways, a student received Weetabix instead of a MacBook at the University of East Anglia. They were left with 2 boxes of Weetabix instead of his ordered MacBook Air after he placed an order on Amazon. His boss believes he was scammed and is trying to get him out of this horrible mess. A lawyer was found guilty of contempt for, quote, mocking a typo. Get this. A Fiji lawyer has been found guilty of contempt of court for posting on Facebook about an incorrectly spelled judgment. Grammar Nazi. The Attorney General had complained that the post was malicious and mocking the judiciary. Wow, Camellia, you would get in big trouble if you were over in Fiji. A natural, quote, natural baby brand may give your baby lead poisoning. Green Sprouts, a self-described natural baby product brand, is recalling 10,000 of its stainless steel bottles and cups due to risk of lead poisoning from the bottom bases breaking off and exposing kids to solder dots containing lead. Okay. Weird stuff. May need to replace the hamster running the wheel, powering your internet, says Chris Morrill. Yeah, probably a good idea. Sorry about that, guys. We'll get John Miltimore in here, and hopefully we won't have any problems when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Were you exposed to hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or condition as a result?
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits and services.
Whether you need health care or want to file a disability compensation claim related to military exposures, VA is here to help.
Visit va.gov/military-exposures to learn more and apply today.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors, what would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? You can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas and a liberty New Year. Socialists and commies may try to convince you that the holiday's all about free stuff. But let's be honest, we all know whose wallet Santa's gifts are coming out of. There ain't no such thing as a free stocking. Santa is the only guy with a big white beard promising free stuff that we want anything to do with this holiday. And if you don't believe, you don't receive. It's a capitalist, consumerist holiday, and it's time for a Santa-sized stimulus. Get your free market merch at the AP for Liberty shop today and stuff your socialist sisters' stockings full of capitalist cheer. Ho, 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 ho!
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. It's 8:33. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Just an FYI, since we are having some internet problems this morning, sometimes what will happen is that whenever you have a shaky connection, YouTube will collapse the stream and it may or may not start a new one. So if you're still wanting to watch the rest of the show and you're like, well, where can I watch it now? It will continuously stream no matter what at the wakeupAmericaShow.com website. So if you're saying to yourself, well, I want to hear the rest of the show, but YouTube is being a little too shaky or having a problem, you can just head over to wakeupAmericaShow.com and you'll be able to continue to watch the show over there. Joining us now to talk about the latest in news from Silicon Valley is the managing editor of the Foundation for Economic Education, Jon Miltimore. Good morning, John. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you doing, AP?
Doing okay. I wish my internet was a little bit stronger this morning, but you got to make do with what you can. Definitely, at least people will be able to catch the replay of this one for sure. John, you and I were talking during the commercial break a little bit about your concern for Elon Musk's safety. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I don't want to sound paranoid, but he is playing with fire here, right? Like, he's clapping at some very powerful people. Part of me wonders if he bought this whole thing just to expose some of the things that were going on at Twitter that he didn't like, and to show a lot of the things that Twitter was telling us weren't true. And I admire that, you know, like as an individual, like I think that's brave. He's fearless in a way that's really impressive. But he is, you know, playing with fire by doing this to some very, very powerful people, people that were, you could tell they very much liked to be able to control information and control the narrative. And you had government and Twitter working together in ways we didn't fully appreciate. And we're seeing they don't like the new Twitter, right? They don't like this what they look at as a free-for-all. They like it controlled. And so there's going to be some repercussions for sure.
What do you think about it? I mean, leftists saying without irony, calling Elon Musk a fascist and calling people a Nazi because they believe in free speech. Because as we all know, the Nazis really loved free speech.
It's ridiculous, right? We know historically the people that want to control speech are the fascists. They are the authoritarians. Having an open forum to discuss that historically has not been associated with totalitarianism. So there is an irony there. You know, like I think it was Tim Carney, I think had a pretty good piece in the Examiner, Real Clear Politics, maybe, where I saw this. And we shouldn't be surprised, like when we see this, because they need a reason, they need a pretext to suppress speech, right? They can't say like, wow, we just want to control the narrative. They need a reason, a pretext. And what is it? It's to protect you. It's to keep you safe, which is why we've seen all this, you know, the Twitter safety board, all these things. We need to, you know, we don't really want to control what you're saying, but we need a reason to keep people safe. That is the pretext. And that's why We hear people shrieking that this is going to be violence, that people are going to be harmed by this. And I think a simple way to respond is nobody's harmed by a tweet, right? Nobody's harmed. Your feelings might be hurt. But we see all this embellishment of things, of what's going to happen to society, that hate speech and so forth. They need that, because otherwise you're a bad person if you want to control speech, but you don't have a reason to do it.
You're just tuning into the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to the managing editor of the Foundation for Economic Education, Jon Miltimore. We're talking a little bit about what the latest of the Twittergate drops. Are you following the story around this Yoel Roth character apparently having to flee San Francisco, having his PhD dissertation that he wrote at University of Pennsylvania being taken down online? Some of the accusations that Elon Musk has been making at him in recent days has been surrounding his, some of the public statements that he's made regarding children and adults. Why is this? You think this is something where there's smoke, there's fire? And why is it always that we seem to be coming back to this whole groomers question, John? It does seem to be no longer a coincidence. Your thoughts?
Yeah, the whole Yoel, or Yoel, I guess is his name. I didn't see that until this morning. If he's fleeing San Francisco, I hope it's a PR stunt, right? I hope that's kind of what we do in the today, is we want to be the victim, right? It's just a better position to be in, and I hope he gets to go in vacation in Montana or somewhere and just kind of let this settle down. Let's not forget he was running around, trying to present his case. He invited a lot of the attention that's coming. I did hear this flap about his PhD dissertation. I think Musk might be getting a little ahead of his skis here. Like, I think he's done that a couple times. I didn't read the entire dissertation. I've always been kind of, though, I'm not a fan of going back and looking at something written 20 years ago and trying to, find wrong thinking in it or things that are wrong. That said, let's be honest. The subject matter is unusual. I find it kind of alarming. I think it's one of the overlooked things is just, Yoel was clearly partisan in a way beyond what Elon Musk was, right? Or is. I think people are saying, well, see, we know where Elon comes down now. He's partisan. Roth was way beyond that. He was some of the most partisan tweets that you wouldn't know that they exist, because media is not talking about this story. But the guy who is running, Twitter's safety board was clearly, he had too much power. He was doing all this stuff unilaterally. Right? That's odd. We kind of thought behind, closed doors, there was some sort of, this was a reason, a logic to it. It wasn't. He was just kicking people off or putting people back on based on his own opinion. We saw when Eric Holder he had a warning attached to one of his tweets that was completely, it's a bogus tweet. Holder was exaggerating. Roth said, can you remove that for me, please? They're like, okay, yes, sir. And it was removed. You had one guy doing all this, and he was as partisan as anyone you'll find at Twitter.
You're just tuning into the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to Jon Miltimore. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. We'd love to hear from you on this one. It always seems, though, John, that like whenever there's some kind of weirdness going on with Silicon Valley, that it's that there's some kind of groomer angle to it this morning. Even like this morning, but I mean, like, some kind of a groomer angle to it. I mean, like, the problem is that every single time that we have these kinds of controversies, it always seems as if there's like this weird attempt to cover up this kind of distinction of pushing the envelope by the left in regards to, whether it's drag queen story hour, right, or whether it's, how young adults should be able to access Grindr. I say young adults, but I mean, like, kids sometimes access this app. I don't know, John. It makes me wonder if, like, the whole Pizzagate thing back in the days, if Alex Jones wasn't actually prescient after all.
I think some of this is the fact that you have conservatives and progressives that they live in very different worlds, right? And some of the things that progressives look at is, hey, this is progress, like we should be celebrating drag queens and all this stuff. Conservatives might look at it and say, well, that's not, even ones that are libertarian enough to say, hey, dress the way you want, like, express yourself. but you can say, look, we don't want to. There's a difference between just saying, go your own way and celebrating things that we look at as wrong. I saw some libertarians debating this on Twitter recently. It came up, like I think there was a Reason article why we should destigmatize sex workers and things. And some said, well, we can say it's okay to do that, but should we really destigmatize it or celebrate it? And there was a discussion. Sadly, it was Twitter. It wasn't a fruitful discussion. It was kind of like a food fight. And that's on Twitter. As far as the whole groomer thing, I'm not saying it's not possible. I think we need evidence, right? Like, and there's, is there smoke to some of these things? Sure. I think sometimes conservatives really want to believe that's what the left is, that they're a bunch of groomers, that they're perverts and things. I've lived long enough. Every walk of life has their perverts and they have their things. This isn't just one party. Maybe there's some of that going on here. Musk seems to think so, but we've seen Musk. He was just a few weeks ago, SBF. He's not going to get prosecuted. He's protected. Well, SBF is in cuffs this morning, right? So I think Musk is doing a lot of good. He's clearly an advocate now, right? Like he is trying to do something, and he feels there's something to show here, and I think he's doing a service by this. But he should also be careful and not. Twitter can lead us to hasty conclusions. It can do all these things. Everybody that's been on that app knows how it works, and Musk is not immune to that stuff either. And I think the slow leak of Twitter files, I like the way they're handling it, but all of us should try to reserve judgment and make sure that we're dealing, with facts and not too much innuendo and in our own confirmation biases.
Yeah, for sure. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson, I'm speaking to John Miltimore. He's the managing editor of the Foundation for Economic Education. Hey, John, I want to pivot here for just a minute. I saw your article over at fee.org from yesterday about child services telling a mother that her kids can't play outside by themselves. What is this story?
Yeah, it really burned me. And it was a story I saw on Reason First, and it was one I kind of just dashed off a hot take on it for my Substack, really, because I have 3 kids. My kids, I raised them the way I was raised. I let my kids play outside. I give them a lot of freedom. They go up in between the yards here with the other neighbor kids. A buddy of mine has twin girls up there, and they're always running around in the neighborhood. I think that's how kids should play. I don't like this constant supervision. I don't like a controlled environment. I like to let my kids play. I've never had a problem with it, but I know this does happen. It happened to somebody I know in the neighborhood. He lets his kids play the little park there, and he can see them out the window, and he had the police called on him. And that's what happened to this woman in the story, in Reason. They live in Virginia. Her kids are playing outside, and the neighbors don't like it. There seems to be some friction there. And they called the police on her multiple times. She's had to sign a child safety agreement, something I'd never heard of, which she violates. She could potentially lose her kids. And you can tell, like, this is a mother. She's like raising her kids like me, saying, no, I don't need to be, supervising my children constantly in this controlled environment. I want to let them play a little bit and explore. That is not a crime. But I think what happens is people look at the law today, and they look at the law and say, oh, it can do all these good things. Like if we use force, we can really do good things with it. Not the purpose of the law. The purpose of the law is to protect life, liberty, and property. It's not to create a better society, to engineer people in a better way. I think we've forgotten that today.
I think I agree with you, John Miltimore. Is there anything else that you think that people should know before we let you go?
No, just thanks for having me on. Check out our content at fee.org. We have a couple of stories going up today, including one. It'll be good on Janet Yellen's. It was kind of one of those overlooked stories that Yellen. Consumers are responsible for inflation. Just so you know, it's the fault of consumers, not the Federal Reserve that increased the money supply by 40%. It's consumers are spending too much. That's why we have inflation.
Yes, we're spending too much. It is Christmas after all. Bah humbug. John Miltimore, managing editor of the Foundation for Economic Education. Merry Christmas to you, sir, and thanks for coming on today.
Merry Christmas, Austin. You have a good one.
Thank you very much. All right. Did you like John Miltimore? Well, I think I solved the internet problem for this morning. I'm so sorry about that. Boy, it is a nightmare too when you don't have like a producer or a team or somebody to like troubleshoot for you, and this is all happening live and everything's falling apart, and you're just like, no, and then you had like 50 people watching the stream on YouTube, and now you only have 11. Well, what can you do? All right, that's what it is. but I think I've switched over from one internet to another internet. So hopefully this internet will be more stable, and it looks stable. I'm seeing in the green back here, 5,800 kilobytes a second. That should be fast enough to give us one more segment on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake. Yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes. You like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bush. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bush blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every $1 we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
Do you have any real-world experience?
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
We're back. It's 8:51. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show. At least I think you're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show All 15 of you over there on YouTube. Thanks so much for sticking it out this morning. I certainly appreciate you very much. Matt Unruh, Ray J's World, Ann Henry, Mad Mom Anon, Mary Kramer, Chris Morrill, and all my friends over there on the live stream. Thanks so much for sticking around with us through the internet problems this morning. I have switched us over to a different internet connection, but I do want to remind you, just so you know, if you're saying to yourself, God, I really want to watch the rest of the show, but YouTube just isn't coming back up, the website will always have the stream. And what I'm going to do later is, because when I record the show, it doesn't record any of those glitches really, for the most part, other than like little things that you see on the screen here and there. For the most part, it doesn't record any of those errors. So I've recorded the entire show and I'll upload it all later. So if you wanted to hear Camilia's full interview or John Miltimore's full interview or some segment or something that you missed later, you'll be able to hear it and see it because it did happen in real time. And I recorded it in real time without any of those problems that we saw with the internet. And of course, you can always fall back to the website at wakeupamericashow.com. I actually revamped the website yesterday, have all the archives up there, changed the color scheme, made it nice and pretty, wrote a new blog. So if you haven't visited the website in some time, today is a good time to do so. Check out the website at wakeupamericashow.com. Matt Unruh says, you're the only game in the morning. Glad to hear that, Matt Unruh. That kind of loyalty is deeply meaningful to me. I hope that you all have a happy holiday season. I certainly am having a wonderful time with my wife. My life has just been fantastic lately, and I certainly hope that yours is as well. But if it's not, and you're going through some troubles or some challenges, just know that we are your friends here on the Wake Up America show. The Cantina crew supports its own, and you can always come here to seek comfort and solace. And we hope that the new year will at least bring tidings of comfort and joy. One last story before I let you go. Cambridge Dictionary is being criticized by conservatives on social media for altering the definitions of the words man and woman. Of course they did, to include people who identify as a gender other than their biological sex. Now, the definition of a woman, which previously represented the long-standing view on sex, now states that a woman is, quote, here we go, an adult who lives and identifies as a female, though they may have been said to have a different sex at birth. This is the dictionary definition, right? Similarly, a man is now defined as an adult who lives and identified as male, though they have been said to have a different sex at birth. Now, I'm not one to point the fingers of degeneracy. It's one thing to live a lifestyle as you please. It's another to change the plain meaning of words. What is that quote? The tyrant's plain meaning of words. Is that Sam Adams quote? There it is. Come on. How strangely. There we go. How strangely will the tools of a tyrant pervert the plain meanings of words. Now, this change was met by pushback, of course, by a lot of people who argue that redefining society's categorization of gender and sex is harmful and inaccurate. Cambridge just dropped a new definition of woman. So, the dictionary also now uses the pronoun they to describe the subject rather than she, which is going to confuse us all into thinking that it's going to be plural. Definitely something that just a sign of the times. Who uses the dictionary anymore anyway? We all just get our, aren't we all just learning everything on YouTube or on TikTok or on Twitter? That's how we learn a language these days anyway, which actually is funny because I saw a story just this morning about, get this, from the Washington Post. Let me read this headline. I screenshotted it. Let's see. Oh, yes. Gen Z came to slay. Their bosses don't know what that means. Well, I have to see the story before we go. Came to slay. From the Washington Post. Gen Z's slang and emojis are confusing older colleagues at work. Gen Z's use of emojis, slang, and punctuation is confusing older colleagues as workplace communications are increasingly struggling online. Generation Z workers listen to this. When 24-year-old Mary Claire Wall read a message that said her colleague would be, quote, out of pocket, she and her younger coworkers giggled. Generation Z workers and her peers interpreted the phrase to mean the colleague planned to do something crazy or inappropriate. Not that they would be unavailable, But in the same manner, she confused her older colleagues with her regular use of the word slay queen. She says, I had to give an almost definition of the word slay, she said. Now they all text me slay. They're excited. They know how to use it. Wow. The definition of the word slay. I think that we can actually put all this behind us. It's time for us to go, to live our lives as we see fit. It's time for you to slay, queen, slay. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. Just don't learn from Reddit, says this. Oh my God. It's been a difficult morning this morning for me. Pray for me if you're a praying person. Send us a text anytime at 573-319-1586. Ray J's World sent me some text messages. I'm going to go read those now that I can kind of focus on that a little bit more. Hopefully tomorrow our internet will be a little bit better off. Don't forget, 2 p.m. today, the Austin Peterson Show on the Real Talk Radio Network. Set an alert on your phone and download the app, the Real Talk Radio Network app, so you can hear my afternoon talk show. And we'll see you tomorrow morning on the Wake Up America Show at what website? Whenever things go wrong, wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today. Fire. Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.